Okay, so Joe, I want you to picture this. You're having a genuinely good week. Clients are happy, customers are happy, work is steady. You took an afternoon off to walk the dog, and then you open Instagram, which I know you're not really on Instagram that much, but it's Facebook, and see another solopreneur announcing their 50K month, and they have a new contractor that they hired, and they only work 4 hours a day. And then suddenly your good week feels like failure. Have you had that feeling?
Oh, I mean, that in many, many forms. Yeah. You know, seeing people that, I back then when I was trying to raise venture capital and you'd see these people just raise 12 million, and it's like, and we never ever successfully raised venture capital, which honestly was the best thing that ever happened to us, but we didn't know it at the time. But yeah, that all over the place.
All over the
And I
place.
have I have some theories on that. So
Okay, well, we'll get to those. You know how we keep naming things the trap, like the ownership trap, the this, the that. So I am calling this the comparison trap. And I think a lot of people think of it as jealousy, and I don't. I think it's just a distorted measuring stick. And I think solopreneurs are uniquely vulnerable to it because they don't have colleagues, they don't have performance reviews, they don't have that external benchmark. So they look at these social platforms, and I think people know in their personal life, like platforms are designed to surface like the highlight reels, but that's true in the business world as well. That's how the algorithms work. And so it's not it's not an apples to apples comparison ever. It's an apples to the highlight reel comparison. And I just really want to remind people of that. And I think hustle culture makes it worse. And we're like first business focused. We are anti hustle culture. But I think people just have it in their brain of being like, I slept 4 hours and I sent 200 emails and hustle, hustle, hustle. And so if other people are still playing into the hustle culture and they're not, it can be really hard to differentiate your success metrics versus theirs. Is there anything you want to add
well,
to that?
you really talked about two separate things that are both kind of harmful. The hustle culture part, which is I'm not working hard enough. I should be putting more hours in. I should be smarter about what I'm doing. I should be this, I should be that. And then there's the other one that's like, yeah, I wake up and make money, and I don't even have to do anything. And I've got this 4 hour work week thing going, and both of those are problematic for most people. I mean, yes, there are people that create businesses that work for them while they sleep. They can be solopreneurs sometimes, or there's people that just have such a presence and such a personality that they can make money just by showing up. And but most of us, that's not the case, and we're just working. We're working to build a life and to support a life. And you look at these things and they don't help, right? So first thing I want to say about that is that, and this is true of lots of things on Instagram, and it's also now becoming true on LinkedIn as well. And that is that a lot of what you see or hear from these people that are posting these kinds of things is baloney. Right? It's not factual. It's like, I've got this perfect life and I've got to make it look that way. And then, they go and they have the same problems we have, but they don't show it and they pretend that they're so great. And I mean, there is no problem with making stuff up when you're posting on social media in any form. You can claim you had a 50K month and you had a 5K month. Nobody can fact check you easily. So keep that in mind, because I think there's a lot of baloney out there, and that's number one. Number two, the people that are doing it, good for them. But that's not you, right? It's not you. The things that they're giving up for that are oftentimes things that you wouldn't be willing to give up for your life. If they happen to be magically gifted and they can just make lots of money without having to work hard, God bless them. But for the most of us, that's just not going to happen.
And that's what I think. I think those unicorns do exist and great for them, but don't use that as your benchmark. Like that shouldn't be the goal. That should be well, that's great. And I get to that point someday. Awesome. But don't use it as a metric to measure your own business against. And I think there's a lot of costs in living this in this comparison mode. You have like your decision making gets hijacked. You have chronic low grade dissatisfaction, even when things like objectively are going pretty well. It's kind of like scope creep on your goals. And then there's the I told so I'm proud of my comparison trap, but there's also like the lifestyle inflation trap, like spending to signal success you don't actually feel. And I think a lot of people feel like they have to do that as well, like kind of like keeping up with the Joneses, but with your own business. Um, but yeah, burnout, yeah, again, it's just it's not an apples to apples comparison. I just want to drive that point home. But there are, I think, ways to kind of recalibrate and reset yourself. Do you mind if I dive into those, or is there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, let me just say one more thing, and then we'll go on the solutions. But there's one other aspect of this, which is the stuff, right? The material things that some people show off, and you look and you go, "Oh, if I only had that car or whatever it is." But the stuff, and I've been, as we all know, in business for a long time. I've had some failures. I've had some really great successes. And here's an example of that I think is important. I used to drive a Lexus. I had various Lexus cars over the years. It's a luxury car. It's very nice. Um, but recently decided I'm going to just go get something more practical, and not practical, but just something that's less expensive, less. I don't need to be driving fancy cars, so I got a Hyundai. Right? My happiness level has not changed one bit driving a Hyundai versus driving a Lexus. Okay. I don't feel, shame or when I was driving Lexus, didn't feel pride. It was a car. And we look at these things and we go, oh, if I had that, if you got yourself your dream car in a few months, it would be right back to where you were in terms of your happiness level. It's fun. You're better off probably renting one for a week instead of buying one, because it doesn't impact your happiness. The things that impact your happiness are having things serve your life. And that is really, really important to keep in mind, is that if you can define the things that are important to you in terms of the quality of your life, that's going to have long-term impact on your happiness level, not stuff.
Exactly. I'm so glad you said that. So, in terms of the practical steps to recalibrate, it's kind of a detox. You need to audit your inputs. Who are you actually following? And do they make you feel good after you scroll? You can unfollow, mute, curate. It's protective. It's not being petty. It's protecting your own mental well being. You need to define your own normal. So I would say write down what a genuinely good work week looks like and feels like for you on paper before you open any app. Like, don't even look at technology for a second. Just think about that. And then create your own personal scorecard, like 3 to 5 metrics that actually reflect your life first goals, including family time, energy, creative satisfaction, and all of that. And then if you are going to consume intentionally. Like I've sworn off the news. I don't watch the same media outlets that I used to, because I like, especially during COVID, I just like could not stop watching the news. And now I just like had to take a step back and be like, okay, how do I stay informed without being overly consumed? Um, and then if you want to find comparisons, find your comparison community. People who are optimizing for a similar life, not just similar revenue. Find people that share those life first goals and follow them, connect with them, communicate with them. So you're kind of you're sharing thoughts. It's like your peers, and it's just a win-win across the board. Do you have any other tactics you would add?
No, I think that's great. I've actually done a lot of those in terms of curating. It's actually not too hard to curate your feed if you just make sure that you focus on follow, subscribe the right things. You can actually turn what used to be kind of a toxic hellhole into not. I don't do X. I'm not on X because I don't know how to not. I think all of X is a toxic hellhole, so I don't know how to fix that. But things like LinkedIn and Facebook. I've managed to make them into really kind of positive experiences when I do open them up. So it's not hard. You just have to focus on what you're watching, what you're liking, what you're following, and it'll come around pretty quickly.
So to wrap up this episode, can I ask Claude to give like a few words of wisdom as like parting advice from this? And I actually really like what it came up with.
Okay.
So I wish I could take credit. This is not me, but it was interesting to see like what it came back with. So these are our like rah points of inspiration brought to you by Claude. You are not behind. You're on a different road. The danger of benchmarking your chapter 3 against someone else's chapter 10 is real. Comparison is the thief of joy, which is cliche but true. And then your business should be a vehicle for your life, not a competition entry.
Woohoo! Not
All right,
bad,
I
Claude.
liked those. I know. Good job,
Pretty good.
Claude. Well done. But it served as inspiration to me. Joe, do you have anything else before we wrap up the show?
No, I think you nailed it.
All right, listeners. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, please leave that 5-star review. It truly helps us spread the word to other life first solopreneurs. We've gotten so much good feedback about looking at everything through this lens. So we're super pumped about it. So that 5-star review is really helpful. Share this episode with a friend or a fellow solopreneur who needs this kind of advice. And don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, including YouTube. And we'll see you next week on the Life First Solopreneur.